Hi, everyone, and welcome back to yet another cracking edition of the Matt Brown Show. This is the Secrets of Fail series where we're talking to founders and entrepreneurs all about their epic business blunders. With us on the line from the bright lights of Texas is Kathy Taylor, the CEO of Herdwise Leadership Coaching. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for being here, Matt.
Fantastic. So why don't you kick us off with the elevator pitch? What are you up to there at Herdwise?
At Herdwise, I help high-performing leaders, mostly women, who feel dry and depleted, and I help them to get back in touch with their inner self and remember what they really want and to learn how to trust themselves again in the process. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they trust themselves in how to work, how they do at work, but as far as on a personal level, it kind of has gone out the window because they focus so much on their business and and that work life. So they tend to not want to slow down, or they want to slow down, but they don't know how. Like resting feels unsafe to their nervous system. And then if they get burnt to the point where they're sort of burned out, they're like, I know I really want to do more things, but I just don't have any energy. And I just want to say, F it and leave the whole thing and just go live on an island in Tahiti somewhere. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I can think of worse things than an island in Tahiti.
Yeah. Yeah. But when there's still that burning desire to make a contribution, you kind of feel like, am I giving up? So how can I help them try to figure out how can they have the best of both worlds, have truly a life connected to themselves and make that contribution that they really want to make. Yeah.
It's a difficult thing, especially when you trying to balance the needs of a career versus also the needs of children, and getting that kind of, I find that is a common thing. It's kind of like massive mom guilt. But I have this ambition to, contribute, as you said. I'm just stuck. I don't know how to do it, So that's where you would come in, right?
That's where I come in, yeah. And the way that I do that is I help them come back into their physical bodies, because a lot of times we're just all in our head. That's where all that spinning out comes around. So get back into their body, help them retrain their nervous system so that things that feel unsafe right now, like that resting perhaps, that feels unsafe to their nervous system, feels safe again. And then they can interact with the horses and with my horses. And the reason the horses are so powerful is because unlike us, they don't have stories around, oh, I'm talking to the CEO, or I can't disappoint my owner who is feeding me. Their opinion is what it is, and they don't have a story about it. So it's easy for us to learn from them how to, what is the story we're telling ourselves? Is it helpful? Should we drop it? And actually, maybe there's a completely different story that we could tell ourselves that actually is helpful.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Well, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this episode. Kathy, what is your story of fail for our audience around the world today?
Well, of course, it's going to involve a horse. So I got a new horse. He was an off-the-track thoroughbred, probably about 5-6 years ago now. And I rode him for about a year and a half before he bucked me off really badly. Now, he had been bolting for a little while, which means he's going along and then all of a sudden, pew, like, let's get into racetrack mode. Well, I don't really like to go fast like that. So I would kind of just, tighten up and, stop breathing and all that sort of stuff. So eventually I learned to just breathe, and he would kind of come back to me in about 3 strides. And I thought we were getting better, and then it would get worse again, and we'd get better and get worse again. And then one day I thought, okay, he's not running around in this paddock like he normally does when I just sort of let him just go run it out for a bit. But I missed all these other red flags before we were getting ready to have our lesson. That we were late, and we had to get there early because somebody else was running late. So we were running, and there was lots of red flags. And even once I got on him, I thought, I should get off. And then I thought, no, my trainer's got to go to the airport. We don't have time to do that. Well, I think my horse must have heard me, because within about 30 seconds, he helped me get off by bolting and bucking this time. So that's the first time that had happened. And I was just like, oh, please just don't let me land on the fence, because there's a pipe rail fence. It would have hurt. I landed about 2 inches away from it. and tried to get back up and thought, I can't even sit on the mounting block at this point. I'm in such pain. There's no way I can get back on the horse. So, yeah, it took a long time to come back from that physically and mentally. So, yeah.
And I suppose that would have also impacted your confidence around your coaching practice. If you have horses bucking and doing all sorts of unpredictable things, it's not the kind of situation you want to put me onto. You know what I mean? Like, or any of your clients, for instance.
Right. Well, my clients don't actually ride the horses. They just interact with them on the ground. But still, this was a horse that I thought we had a better relationship than we did. So we had a lot of repairing to do in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds like a bad client.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a bad client though in that situation.
I know what it was.
Yeah.
So what did that experience teach you, Kathy? Are there any parallels you can draw from that experience to your business?
Absolutely. The biggest one is that I did not trust myself. It took me a while to figure this out, but I had kind of been getting back on that horse every single time, that I'd gotten on him for the last year, and kind of re-traumatizing both of us because we didn't have the relationship foundation that we should have had.
Yeah.
We didn't have, he really didn't trust me because he didn't feel safe, and I certainly didn't feel safe on him. So I was completely ignoring my intuition and my body and just trusting my trainer, trusting someone else to keep me safe. And that's just not a healthy relationship. I could easily blame it all on her because she's a take charge kind of person. And I normally am too, except on this horse, I just said, you be in charge of the horse. I'll take care of me because that's all I can handle. And so my long journey back has really also paralleled my journey back into my business as well, where, for a long time I was doing all the guru things, like taking this program and that program and paying lots of money to learn how to do this, that, and the other thing. And I'd get to the end and I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. But they're having all this success at it. Why can't I? And finally, I realized that I need to follow what is my own path and listen to me and my own intuition and what works for me. And for me, that's, okay, what's the question that I'm wrestling with these days? What am I curious and wondering about in the world of personal and professional development? And are there people out there who just want to come along on that same ride with me? Not doing the same thing, but exploring something in the same way. For example, right now I'm exploring this whole idea of what does it mean to take up space? How do we take up space mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically? And how do we give it up? How do we take it back? How do we do it with someone? So to negotiate that a little bit. And so there's a whole other story about how I got back into that with that horse, which is quite dramatic, but probably a story for another day. But yeah, it's been a great journey.
So Kathy, if you could go back in time with the Matt Brown Show time machine and kind of do things differently, what would you do differently and why as an entrepreneur and CEO?
The number one thing I would do differently is listen to my body and my intuition. That's the thing that I did not do when I was on the horse. And that's the thing that I've really been learning about since then, is that when I give up my leadership or my decision making or anything like that to someone else, I'm not really taking responsibility. I'm hoping that if they're the expert, maybe I won't fail. But actually, failure is not the worst thing. It's when I just quit. So right now, I'm realizing that I can know when am I out of my element, like when do I really not have a clue of what I'm doing? And I do need to ask people and follow their advice and their instructions versus when am I just on the edge of my comfort zone and I'm feeling uncomfortable, but yeah, I really can handle it. And I can feel that difference in my body now because I've gotten to that point. The other thing is to really put what I want first. Like I said before, sort of what's the questions and the curiosities and the paths that I want to go down, and then invite people to come along because it's an interesting ride. And if they want to come, great. And if they don't, then that's okay too.
Yeah. Wise words. Kathy, what's your advice to other CEOs or entrepreneurs right now in terms of the importance of failure in business success?
Importance of failure. Well, you're not going to get very far unless you fail. Because that's really where we learn the most, right? Is from our failures, not from our successes. Yeah, that would be the number one thing. And, I think entrepreneurship in general just is personal development. There's always going to be things that you get wrong, even if it's a small thing. So when you've got a relationship that maybe has failed or you've ruptured somehow, just go in and repair it. Be honest, connect with yourself, and be honest about, what was your part in whatever happened. Don't take all the responsibility, but be willing to reconnect with those people.
Mm. Yeah, I love what you said. I think entrepreneurship is as much about growing yourself as it is about growing a business. I don't think people recognize that as much as let's put it this way. If it's your first business, you don't see that. You're like, oh, I'm growing a business. Like, no, dude, you're actually growing yourself.
Yeah.
And because your business will only grow and scale to the extent that you do. Your appetite for uncertainty and risk and hunger for failure and hunger for pain and suffering and that kind of stuff, because that's, it's a dichotomy, isn't it? And I think all we see on the front pages of magazines and these things is the external, right? It's kind of like, well, this guy sold his company in, 6 months for 100 million or whatever the ridiculous headline is. But really, it didn't take 6 months. It took 15 years, lots of failure, struggle, uncertainty and all that kind of stuff to get to that outcome, right? So it's pretty binary in entrepreneurship. It's like the longer, either you're going to die, the business is going to die or fail, or the business is going to be sellable, or exit at some point, or you're going to reach whatever ambitions you have. Makes sense.
Put in.
Yeah. Cool. Kathy, are there tools or books or resources that you encourage entrepreneurs to use on their journey?
Well, I think that they can always get good feedback from a horse. Not necessarily just mine, but any of them, because like I said before, they really don't, the horses respond the same way people respond to us, only they don't care if you're the CEO, they don't care if you're the janitor, they don't care who you are. So it's an honest response. So you get actually honest, real, true feedback about it.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think it's because what I said before, like they don't have a story about it. They don't have shame like we have shame. They don't feel like, oh, if I pin my ears at that guy, he's not going to like me. They just say, I don't feel good here, and so I'm going to leave, or I'm going to pin my ears back and have them leave. Yeah.
So is that kind of one of the response mechanisms that you look out for, is pin back ears, or are there other things? How do horses typically respond?
Oh, that's one way. Pinning the ears usually is some sort of not being very happy about something or another, or it might be a little warning. Sometimes they might swish their tail, or they might just wander away. Sometimes they might push into you. So it's all, so we talk about taking up space again. It's how can you relate to that space? And, are you a little too close? Can you get for a little further away? And how can we both feel safe in this relationship together? And it's a really interesting dance between the client and the horse. Super
interesting. Well, Kathy, that concludes your time in the hot seat. Appreciate you for sharing your secrets to fail and your perspectives with our audience. Appreciate you for that.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all again soon. Ciao.